Hello and welcome. This is rooflemonger, my friends. This is my tips and tricks guide for Goldlewis Dickinson in Guilty Gear Strive. Now, as always, these guides, they're long. So I have provided timestamps for you, so feel free to skip ahead to whatever seems relevant to you. But as always, we start at the start. So let's just go over his basic moveset first. So Goldlewis is a little different than average. He has special moves, sure, you know, all the characters in the game do, yeah, right? But two of his three special moves, the Thunderbird and the Skyfish, they're both dependent on the security meter, which is his bonus little gauge here above his super meter. And then we have Behemoth Typhoon, which is just its own thing. So first we'll talk about Skyfish and Thunderbird, the security meter moves. So here in the bottom left is your security meter, and you can see it's slowly filling up. And it governs two of his three special moves. It starts at level 1, as you can see here. When it hits the halfway point, it's level 2. And when it gets all the way to the end, level 3. So you don't need to baby this meter or anything like that. It'll do what it needs to do on its own. It just automatically refills. And when you do any move, it automatically goes to 0, even if it was already at level 1. It'll always go all the way back to the beginning, just FYI. So it should come to no real surprise. Higher level, the better. So say the minigun here. At level 3 specifically, it'll do 30 hits. And it'll do a fair chunk of damage. At level 1, 10 hits, and you know, not anywhere near as substantial damage. The drone Thunderbird at level 1, it can barely even go across the screen. Not to say it's useless at level 1, because in the corner especially, as we'll go over later in the video, a level 1 or level 0, whatever, it doesn't matter what level it is, it'll still work fine in the corner. But at level 1, it's not much of a threat. Now come level 2, it travels about 75% of the screen, and it also gets more hits as well. As you see here, it's only 2 hits at level 1. At level 2, it will become 3 hits on top of traveling further. So both doing more damage and also keeps the enemy locked down and block stun for longer. And at level 3, it becomes the best it's going to be, as it'll travel the entire screen, as you can see here, and get more hits and more damage. And also, as you can see, it's kind of glowing like super red, like extra dangerous, I guess you could say. So it's just letting you know this is the biggest possible version of the move. So when you're thinking about tossing out these special moves, just look at the gauge. Sometimes if you're already almost at level 3, it's worth it just to wait for it, because the level 3 versions are overwhelmingly the best versions of each of these moves. Just things like, let's look at chip damage here. So Giovanna here, blocking level 0, takes you know, a little bit of chip, sure, right? But now let's wait here, and I'll do the level 3 version of the minigun, and look at the difference in the chip damage here. So now, that's substantial. That's a lot. That is not anything to mess around with. The level 3 Gatling gun, like, it's just, like, obviously you want any move to hit, right? But if you have the move blocked, you're not going to feel too bad about it. And even if they use faultless defense, so they take no chip damage, look how much it drains their faultless defense. And of course, this is a bot, right? So it'll be frame perfect, not a little bit of meter wasted. Against a human, you're going to waste more meter. Like, that's what that takes. It's almost 50% of your meter if you want to flawless block that whole thing. So you won't take the chip, but then it becomes like a meter drain special instead. So the level 3 minigun damage, chip, meter drain, whatever you want to look at it, this is why it's worth the wait for level 3. And of course, you know, for pressure and all that stuff too, drone level 3 just as good as well, but doesn't quite drain the meter the same way. So those are your two specials, and we'll talk about them more later in the video. But yeah, they're governed by the security gauge, and simply more is more. End of story. Security gauge also covers one of the supers, what we'll talk about in a minute. Now let's talk the Behemoth Typhoon. Alright, Behemoth Typhoon, I'm sure you've seen the memes, right? So here is technically one move, but with 8 different outcomes. So if I want to do half circle forward, heavy slash, I get this. I want to do half circle back, heavy slash, I get this. I want to do down to back to up, then I'll get this guy. I want to do down to forward up, I'll get this guy, so on and so forth. and they're all airborne okay as well. So every single one of these bad boys you can do in the air. It's pretty crazy, and they're all very good at very different things, is the thing. Like, do you want to just, control the ground with a fast move? On the ground, forward to down to back. Heavy slash Behemoth Typhoon is the one, right? We also have the forward to up to back Behemoth Typhoon, this guy right here. But the thing is, while it's better on the ground, it has an up, and 99% of people, you're gonna jump. It's difficult. Like, even me, right? I can do it fast as all I want, and sometimes it works out, but sometimes I also freak out trying to do it, or sometimes I jump, or just sometimes bad stuff happens, and I don't exactly get the move I want to get, as you can see, right? So that sucks. So, thankfully, almost none, except for that specific one, almost none of the Behemoth Typhoons that have any kind of up in their motion. You don't got to worry about that too much, because you don't want to do them raw in neutral. But now, just to quickly go over every single one. So starting with back to down to forward heavy slash. This guy here. This guy is your home run swing. So in neutral, the thing about it is it's not fast at all. No, don't get me wrong, it's not fast at all. But it recovers pretty quick. So if you whiff, it's kind of no fuss, no muss, as you recover fairly quickly. Now, if you're anywhere near the corner at all, this guy is going to wall bounce, and that is exactly what you're looking for. You get them in airborne at all, you'll get a wall bounce, and then, get fancy combos, all that kind of stuff, right? That's exactly what we're looking for. It's great for that. You want them airborne for the most part for that. Like, it doesn't really matter how you get to it. You go like close slash, the launches into the back to down to forward, heavy slash, or you could like launch them with a different Behemoth Typhoon, juggle them with a stand heavy slash and bounce them off that way. It doesn't really matter how you get to it, but if you're anywhere near the corner, this is the one you're always going to be fishing for. Now, forward to down to back, this motion here, that's this guy here. This is your very fast neutral one. As far as pokes goes, this is your best poke other than the other one we'll talk about later on. This is the most realistic poke, let's put it that way, for 99% of all players. It starts its animation very fast. I believe it's active on frame 12. So as far as pokes go, it's pretty standard, and therefore also outranges a lot of pokes. Now, it has a little bit of a wind up here. So if you whiff with this, you're a lot more open than, say, some of the other ones, as we talked over, because the Behemoth Typhoons always go in the motion that you do, whatever the motion is, right? So if you go forward to down to back, it'll go forward down to back. And just to note here, like the airborne version, all the Behemoth Typhoons are active all the way. So if I do the airborne version, it'll hit behind me just fine, right? It hit behind me, it'll hit below me. It basically exactly mirrors what the move is. So just keep that in mind. So primary poke for sure. Also very good for like just like quick little bufferings, like you're going for neutral and going for a move in neutral. That is forward to down to back. Down to back to up. That is this guy here. And this guy side switches, as you can see there. So you do it, you side switch, and also you can get a little bit of a combo as well. Now, before you go too crazy, here's one of the things. If you do it immediately in the corner, you will not side switch in the corner at all. You won't. You actually have to move yourself forward a bit and push them out a little bit to do so. So if you're looking for a quick string to do that, like close slash into sweep, if you yourself are cornered. That is, generally speaking, the best way to do this, as that will actually take you out of the corner, put them in the corner, and from there, you can kind of just do whatever you want to do. World's your oyster, right? There you go. So that's the best way to switch in the corner, but sometimes, you're kind of close to the corner. It's also very fast for all the Behemoth Typhoons, so it'll combo off jabs, it'll combo off like light attacks, whatever it is. So if you're trying to toss out something quick and you want to switch sides, it's the way to go. Down to forward to up the other way is a big jahonkin uppercut with it. And launches you up pretty high, as you can see. And yes, of course, naturally combos off basically everything. Now, it's not the go-to combo one, though, unless you specifically get a counter hit, which is a little rare. I wouldn't be too worried about that. But it combos off everything. It works. All these guys, except for two of them, are plus on block, and this is very plus on block. The only two that are not plus on block are forward to down to back, this guy here, and forward to up to back, which is that guy there. Those are the only two that aren't plus on block. Everything else is plus on block. So if you're just looking for like to annoy them, take turn after turn after turn, because it also has fairly substantial range, just slower startup, it's not bad. Also, as a jump in, it's one of the better jump ins. I think that's the best jump in, but we'll talk about that later. But it'll usually always be plus on block as a jump in as well. Now let's talk up to back to down. This is your low, and it's a pretty good low. Plus on block, leads to full combos on hit. As you can see here, right? You get your big boy combos. That's great. And that's about it, because its compatriot is up to forward to down, so rolling down like this way here. And this guy is an overhead, and it's a pretty quick overhead, and once again, it's plus on block. You don't quite get the same big combo, but, you know, you'll get damage. So either way, whichever direction you want to go, that is your high-low mix-up. All right, and our last two here, so forward to up to back. This is the best one for neutral. However, it's one of the hardest ones to do in neutral, because unless you're incredibly quick, and I can't do it all the time myself either, so don't feel bad if you can't. Unless you're super quick, you are going to jump half the time when you try to do this move. Legitimately, I only think 1% of players can do this in any reliable way. I can do it super focused maybe 4 out of 5 times, and that's not reliable. If I accidentally jump, I might die, right? But the move here has very good space. It actually goes a little bit further than the forward to down to back move. But once again, it's not that reliable in neutral, sadly. But does control a great amount of the screen, so if you are one of those 1% of people, this is the one you want to go for. Combo-wise, you also want to use that more as well, but we'll talk about that later in the video. So our final one here is back to up to forward, that motion right here, and heavy slash, and that is our big boy overhead. It's slow. It's what we call seeable. You can definitely block and react in time, but it's still a big amount of chip. It's still super plus on block, so kind of, whatever. Still your turn if it gets blocked. And if it doesn't get blocked, well, then it's time to have some fun, because easy combos, even from like the tip of the move, and if you're any kind of close, oh, heaven for Fen, because they're gonna be eating some damage, as you can see there, right? So it's very strong, it's slow, but it's kind of, you know, if it hits, great, but if not, well, you're not hurting, right? You're not in a bad position. It's still your turn. It's very plus on block, does good chip damage, it works. And that is a very quick summation of all 8 Behemoth Typhoons. Once again, every single one of these is also air okay. Now, in the air, they get a lot more limited. They don't do as much chip damage. You can do some fun gimmicky things like they all have like the hitbox all the way through, right? The whole motion is a big hitbox, right? So you can like accidentally, you know, hit people with cross-up versions, all that kind of stuff. Giovanna's a little harder because she's very low to the ground. I probably should pick another character, but I'm not editing out at this point, so we're going to have to deal with it, right? But yeah, so you get the whole motion, all that kind of stuff. They're a little bit more limited. But yeah, that is Behemoth Typhoon in a nutshell. Now to talk his overdrives. First one here, half circle back, forward, and punch. Down with the system. Which is a very odd name because he's definitely part of the system, as is the Secretary of Defense, but whatever, I guess, right? But yeah, so Invincible Super, very important to know, because this is literally his only form of defense for the most part. He has nothing else that's invincible, or even approaching it. So this is a move where it definitely has a clean hit system, as you see here. So it hits, and and Giovanna's a little weird here with our damage values, but if we turn on our damage input display here, right? 165. But if we do it closer, we'll get a different animation. And I'll do 185 instead, right? So the closer you are, the better. If you can trigger the animation with the drone hitting, you will just generally do more damage flat out. And you can actually get more damage overall because it does allow for what we call alternate inputs. So I can do half circle back, forward punch to get the move, right? All well and good. But I can also do a 360 motion and also get it. So it allows for this alternate input. I can either do that regular motion or I can do a regular 360 and I'll get either one. Great. But if you do more and more 360s, it gets more and more damaging. So say we do a double 360. We instead now, when we see the close-up, it had a different animation and 2 drones. And if you want to really churn butter here, I'm talking 3 360s. You'll get a different animation again. His glasses will break. And then you'll get 3 drones to follow up. So basically a 360, a 720, and a 1080. But if you do that, you get more and more and more damage. Now, the beauty is you don't just got to go, like, you know, do a 1080 on the spot, right? Like, that ain't nobody asking that from you. Don't worry about that. But there is a lot of situations, like, say you get the wall bounce on the enemy, and you can buffer and hide that motion inside that and do it instead, right? So while you're in the motion here for, like, the big wall bounce, you're hiding your buffer inside of it. So that's the secret to it. All things being equal, the best use for this move is simply the defensive value, the invincibility. So the extra damage, it's nice, don't get me wrong, but it's not as necessary. The main thing you want to do is the, oh god, get off me, I don't know what to do button, right? That's its main use, and in that is plenty fine. Okay, and now our other super is Burn It Down. So just double quarter circle forward here and kick. And he'll debut the eye laser, and yo, I don't know how much Command & Conquer you guys have played, but this is debuting the GDI Ion Cannon. Or if you're younger, I guess you could say the Hammer of Dawn from Gears of War, but it's like Ion Cannon to me. But anyways, so the thing here is, this is the screen control super, but there is one little detail here. As this bad boy is 100% dictated by the security level. So the other super, you can do whatever, it's fine. But this one here, if you do a level 1 version, it is going to be distinctly less impressive, as you can see, versus the level 3. The level 2 version's all right. Definitely better than the level 1 version. But you basically want to save the level 3 for this, right? Because you're already burning meter. Meter's a very, very precious resource. So you want this move to be the best it can be. And for level 3, this is the move as best it can be. Now, the thing here is, it's trivial to block. It's fine. Like, blocking, it's not a big deal. But the whole thing is it controls all the screen. It hits all the way up. So if you got a melee or chip just jumping around like a monkey here, it'll bring them down. They at bare minimum at least have to block the move. And once they block the move, well, remember how earlier we talked in the Behemoth Typhoon section about the big old overheads and the big old lows? Well, while they got to block anyways, this is where you bring this stuff out. They're locked down, they can't do anything, so you're basically going to put them in a 50-50, and they gotta like it. Another key thing to note here, once this animation plays, once you see that laser eye here, no matter what, the move is gonna happen. There is nothing they can do to stop it from happening. There's ways to get around it, like you can run forward. If you manage to throw Goldlewis, you'll be safe during your throw animation, that kind of stuff. But otherwise, you can be very assured. Once you see the little laser eye happening, you know for a fact it's coming, and it's on them to react appropriately. And you know, just don't let yourself get thrown, because then it's all for nothing, right? So if they rush forward, make sure to stick out a button or something. Just don't let them go for the Hail Mary play. And if you hit them, then they're going to get hit by the laser, and you can do whatever combo you want. The laser itself doesn't do much damage on hit. Here, let me turn off block so you can see what I'm talking about here. So when we do the level 3, specifically level 3 laser, even if they eat all of it, I'm talking every part of it, it's not going to be that much damage. Like, it's not nothing, but, you know, not what you expect out of a raw super, right? But you can freely do any other hits you want during this time, and at that point the damage will be very real. But realistically, they'll block, and then it's mix-up city. Now for the basics of Goldlewis. On the most base level, you're the big guy, and you want to enforce the big guy will, right? He has some of the best chip damage in the game, potentially just straight up the best, right? So say we take Giovanna here and she's going to block. So we'll do 4 Behemoth Typhoons. And keep in mind, every Behemoth Typhoon does the exact same damage. So she blocked the special move 4 times. Does she feel like a winner in this situation? Like, that could be the most basic thing. I could just want, like, you know, boom, boom, okay, you blocked whatever. But the amount of chip damage is absolutely intense. Like, yeah, it'll go down with guts, sure, like, but it's, you're feeling it. And if you got the level 3 minigun ready to play too, yo, level 3 minigun, look how much chip that does as well, right? And especially with how the minigun works, you're a winner no matter what. If it hits, great. And if it's blocked, great, because look at the chip damage. And if they want a faultless defense at all, great, because it basically costs them almost half a meter to faultless defense the whole thing. So the chip damage is the real deal for sure. Obviously, you want to get the hit, but that's one of the benefits of Goldlewis is just the chip is, well, supreme. He'll be putting out so much more chip damage than just about anyone else can. Now, this comes with caveats here. So he's great with chip, right? His mid-screen is serviceable. Like, you got the good poke. This is not a bad poke for what it is, right? The control screen, all right. This works, all right. But he has very limited ability to stop people from doing stuff, basically. Especially if people want to be airborne a lot. Like, he has some dedicated airborne options, and we'll go over that later. But overall, the problem is when people want to start just jumping a lot. That's when a lot of the issues come up. Compounded with the fact that he effectively has no real defense. Yes, he has the invincible reversal. Thank God for it. He has at least this, right? But, you know, most people have an invincible reversal. But, you know, he doesn't got much else. He has the backdash. If you're not aware, backdashes are invincible in this game. And he is in the club of the most invincible backdash, along with Potemkin and Nagoriyuki. He has 6 frames of invincibility. Most people have 4 or 5. So he has 6 frames of invincibility. And also, his backdash compared to Potemkin or Nagoriyuki is better because his recovers faster than theirs does. So when it comes to that combination of it has the most amount of invincibility, and it is the fastest recovering backdash in that class. It's not the fastest recovering backdash at all, not even close, but it has the 6 frames of invincibility. But that said, okay, you got that reversal, you got that cool backdash, but here's the sad truth. This is where your home's going to be a lot of the time. You're back to the wall. That sucks, but that's the reality of it. That is what the low defense character does. You're going to have to make everything count. You want to take turn after turn after turn. Ideally, you want to hit with a Behemoth Typhoon, right? But if you make them block one of the plus on block ones, make sure to just pressure, 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 pressure. 6 of the 8 of them are plus on block. Only this one and this one are not plus on block. Everything else is plus on block. So make sure to take turn after turn after turn. Like, just bully them over and over and over. If they dare block, then stick out another button real quick and make them block another. Then stick out a button real quick and make them block another, right? Build up that chip, build up that risk. That is one of the big game plans. He can do a fair bit off a hard knockdown, and it's pretty easy for him to get a hard knockdown, as every single Behemoth Typhoon move is a true hard knockdown. You cannot tech any of them. Now, be it running up in their face, be it drones, like we'll talk about that later in the video, right? But his pressure is good once you're already on the ground. The big fight is to get them on the ground. And, well, the rest of this guide, we're going to be going over a lot of concepts, a lot of just talking about what he can do, a lot of everything. And that's hopefully to help you to get you to that point, just to knock on the ground, right? So, with that said, let's get to the guide proper. Now, let's talk some notable normals. The first one I got to do, because this is going to be your lifesaver, crouching punch, this guy here. So this is his single fastest move. It is 6 frame startup, which doesn't even mean it's particularly that fast, honestly, but it's the fastest he's got, so we got to work with it. One thing that helps with this move is there's a slight disjoint, so the hitbox actually proceeds just a little bit past the part where he himself can be hit, which actually makes it a pretty decent anti-air sometimes. But yeah, so you're going to be doing this a lot here, like just canceling into Behemoth Typhoons, because this is all you got to work with. If you want anything with any kind of speed, this is your fast move. So when your back's to the wall, you're being pressured, keep that in mind, because this might be the only thing that saves your life. Now, as a fun little bonus, this is different from a lot of the other little pokes. This move is actually advantage on block. So if this move gets blocked, well, then it's still your turn. Now, realistically, you're probably going to want to cancel into it almost immediately. Most of the time, anyways. But keep in mind, at the bare minimum, it is advantage on block, which is outside of the realm of normal for quick little pokes like that. Another very important normal is Jump D. This is when the alien comes out to play. Now, you can basically call this move like Mega Fist Light, like Mega Fist for Potemkin. As you can see, it hits from very far away. Like, very far away. Like, almost unreasonable at some time. The one thing that makes this move not just broken is, you know, there's no disjoint or anything on it, so you can hit him out of it if you see it coming, sure. And also, it's almost impossible to hit someone in the air with this move. Like, you have to be on top of them in the air. It's the only real way. If it's air to air, they're already jumping. You're not really going to do it. But yeah, this move is just very, very belligerent. You don't really get much off it in and of itself. Because, like, as you can see, that's not a combo, right? Like, if a counter hit, that could be a combo. But at the very least, it gives you pressure. Like, you can follow up. Now, being a jumping normal, it is special, cancelable. This is one of the bigger deals here. So, meaning, I can do this and then go into a Behemoth Typhoon. So, as you can see here, you know, easy peasy 2-hit combos. Not too difficult. Depending on where you are right there, depending on where you are on the ground, if you're a little too low, you will actually whiff your Behemoth Typhoon, as you can see. So, when you're going for the cancel, you want to try to hit, like, basically at the top. The 6-2-4 version, half circle back, generally is the most reliable one to hit, as it hits just right away. The 2-6-8 version, so going upwards, is better overall, as it actually will leave you advantage on block if it is blocked, but it's a little more finicky. This one is just the reliable one in the end, right? Also, if you manage to get people in the corner with this, easy follow-ups, right? And if you happen to be like directly on top of them when it hits, you can follow up like an HS or something and toss out a drone or whatever. But yeah, Jump D is the belligerent jumping button. It is very strong. Also, due to the nature of the hitbox, it can actually often beat 6Ps pretty easily because it hits very low to the ground. So it'll actually touch their feet, which defeats the whole purpose of the 6P because you're basically not in the air enough because this jumps very, very low to the ground. So just keep that in mind. Jump D, one of the best jump-ins in the game. Now to talk here, stand S, crouch S, this is more out of necessity than these moves being amazing, honestly. If you're looking for pokes, this guy is 10 frames, so the range is pretty good, although it can be beat out by certain things, and it's very easy to low profile, as the hitbox mostly matches the fist, rather. So if people are low to the ground doing various moves, they can go under it pretty easy. But yeah, 10 frames, that's the big deal here. So good poke into this various Behemoth Typhoons, right? Keep it in mind. Crouch S has more range. I can hit a little bit past the round 1 start position, which is good. So also really good going Behemoth Typhoons, but keep in mind right there, if you're hitting an absolute max range, even the longer range Behemoth Typhoons can whiff at absolute max range. So just watch out about that. He does have a command normal here, forward HS. This is basically his longest range move, although the startup is very slow, just FYI, and if you don't want to whiff this move. But if you absolutely need the range, this move has the range. Now, the kind of knockdown it is a tumble knockdown, so you're not going to get anything off it in and of itself. If it hits counter hit, you can, but by itself, not so much. But if you're just looking to range out the enemy, this is the guy to do it. Stand heavy slash as well. The hitbox is basically what you think it is, just Goldlewis is behind the coffin. So the coffin is an active hitbox, but there's no point of the coffin you can hit. So it's a kind of a decent hitbox to try to whiff punish with. Like, just stand outside of the range you know they might try, and just toss it, and if it hits the counter hit, you get a pretty big reward. On counter hit, it even actually combos into the minigun. Not much really combos into the minigun, so it's pretty good damage, as you can see here, right? So just keep in mind it's a good whiff punish button. And finally, for notable normals, I just want to talk jump heavy slash, as it's just a dirt easy cross up, like it's a brain dead cross up. You don't have to time it at all. We have other cross ups, like jump kick is also a cross up too, right? But this one is just, it's just so easy to work with. You want to hit deep if you want to get a natural combo, though, just FYI. If you don't hit deep, you're not going to get a natural combo if you just kind of hit near the top of it. Like, see, that didn't combo at all. But it is something you can work with. And to note, you can do Behemoth Typhoon cancel, so you can use, like, say, the swing forward here. And once again, they're active all the way through, even during the windup. So the back of the move will hit him on the other side of the head. It's not as good as getting a proper combo, but it is an option available to you. As an added little bonus, because I forgot to record this in the first part here, for notable normals, stand kick. So stand kick is very odd, and it has sort of a disjoint. The disjoint is on his far leg that's kicking specifically. So you can hit him where his arm is, which is just as far out, but you can't hit him where the foot is. So anything that is like a little poke, you know, like that kind of stuff, you basically will stomp it for free. As you can see here, like, see how far away I'm hitting this from? Like, see how far I am, right? That is how far this can hit from. Like, it is super disjointed in the bottom part. So if you're catching people doing a lot of crouching pokes specifically, this is your go-to button. This conquers that stuff. Since he has problem with crouchers on some levels, this is basically the anti-croucher button. Now, it's still slower. It's nowhere near as fast as Crouch Punch. So if they're directly on top of you, Crouch Punch is still the way to go. But just keep that in mind here. If you got a person spamming crouching moves, this move is tailored, designed to destroy people doing crouching moves, for sure. Now, to talk specifically about his 6P, forward punch, this guy here. As always, you know, it's like the universal anti-air, so if people try to jump in, whatever, you know, it'll hit. That's fine. And the thing is, it hits much higher than most 6Ps. So in a purely anti-air function, it's sometimes better than most of them. As it can hit quite high up, so you can do it earlier than you otherwise would with a 6P, meaning you risk less because you're allowed to do it earlier. And that's fantastic. But the problem is it loses a lot. It gains a little bit anti-air, but like when it comes to like using a neutral, like if you want to hit someone, you have to be like directly beside them. So in the situations where you want to use it as a counter poke, depending on the character, it can be rough. Like other characters here, that time it did hit, but other characters in this situation, they would hit Giovanna, right? I got to be like almost directly on top of her to hit her. So that's, you can't use it the same way. And also, now for the purpose of like, you know, countering stuff in neutral, it's not as big of a deal. But it just straight up can't hit crouching people, like at all. So if you're thinking of using this when you're directly on top of someone, just beware. And also his stand punch while we're at it, just real quick. Stand punch also has issues hitting standing people, let alone crouching people. But yeah, so for 6P, it truly is a great anti-air. Truly, honestly. Also, one of the things about it here, the kind of knockdown that it provides allows you to combo after it, right? So you can go into like whatever Behemoth Typhoon you want to do. Generally speaking here, the forward to up to back one's the best, and you don't have to worry about jumping because the emotion will be hit in your animation. And because they all cause hard knockdowns, then that means it's a hard knockdown that you're just directly on top of them. Like you control what's going to happen on their wake up. So if you are going for it, just keep in mind, you do get the follow-up. You don't got to just like do it and nothing else. Now, one of the things I spoke on earlier is he has difficulty from stopping people from jumping. His screen control is kind of so-so for the most part, especially for the big boy style of character. So a lot of the stuff you're going to have to do dealing with people in the air is going to be more reactive rather than proactive. You can't just like spam stand slash with like Potemkin, which hits people jumping anyways, right? Earlier in their jump. So here's anti-airs. So on a purely grounded level, 6P, we all know that, right? Also 2P. 2P is actually a very good anti-air. We talked earlier in the video how it has a small disjointed hitbox, and when it comes to stopping jumps, it's fantastic. It's great even. And of course you can special cancel into like, you know, whatever Behemoth Typhoon you want to do from there. So keep that in mind. Also being fast, 6 frames, right? So keep that in mind. Very good at just reaction checking jumps. I see you jump, oh gotcha, and then go from there. Now on the same note here, stand punch. Stand punch has a lot of flaws, but it is a pretty decent anti-air. Especially because of the range, you can stuff early on. And once again, also very easy to go into Behemoth Typhoons and just kind of do whatever. Also, combos into itself most of the time when you get it, so you can just work with that. So you can go like jab, jab, then Behemoth Typhoon. So it gives you just a little bit of mental time to understand what's happening, so you don't have to immediately go like jab into a half circle motion, which can be a little rough for some people, right? So you see it jab, jab, then whatever Behemoth Typhoon you want to do. Also, if you want to sneak in just a little more damage, you can usually get crouch slash and then go into a Behemoth Typhoon. It's not worlds more, but more damage is more damage, so there's no reason to shake it out, you know? Also, when it comes to being proactive, we have Jump Slash. This guy is the air-to-air missile. Its only purpose is to knock people out of the air. Like, it can barely hit a grounded foe. Like, I actually don't even think I can hit Giovanna on the ground. Taller people maybe, but yeah. So this is definitely your air-to-air. So if you smell stuff out, that's good. This is also extra beneficial because, as you well know, he's the one big guy who can do the air dash, right? So we can actually make some hay out of this. Like, you can get like 2 hits sometimes. If you want to be the most safest possible option, it's usually best to go from slash into air dash into a jab. I find that's the most reliable option. As he just hits real quick there. And of course, naturally from that, you can get a Behemoth Typhoon because that's what it's all about. You can also use jump kick as well. It's more of a preference thing. I just think jump punch is just a little bit more reliable, but whatever you want to do, go for it. And then Behemoth Typhoon, he gets just a nice little chunk of damage. Okay, so now let's talk about controlling space, because you have to do this. Once again, he has little to no real defense. You're going to find your back against the wall a lot of the time, and the only way to not find your back against the wall is to make sure you control space well enough to not be in that position. Now, grounded, that's the easy part. Grounded is the easy part. So half circle back, heavy slash, this is kind of the Footsies normal. Has 12 frame startup, guard break, little negative on block, but not in any real way that matters. And if people just want to stay on the ground, well, then your life would be very easy. So how do we deal with people who jump all the time? How do we control that space? So we talked a little bit earlier about anti-airs, but that's when you kind of already lost, right? Like, you're reacting to what's going on. So one of the best ways to control space is with the aerial Behemoth Typhoon. I specifically like the forward to down the back variation here, because it also hits as a cross-up, because once again, they all hit exactly as they are shown. So if they manage to sneak behind you, you get a hit. It'll hit below you if they were below you. If they're in front of you, like, it works out. It's one of the best ways to control space. Now, it's not flawless, as nothing is, right? This move, if it's blocked point blank, is punishable by a lot of the cast, right? So you want to kind of have it hit at the tip of the move. But the thing is, it controls a lot of space from the jump position working down. Like, that's one of the best parts about it. Some of the other ones as well, like if you want to do the version here up to forward to down, also controls a lot of space. A little bit better controlling the air, maybe less so controlling the ground, but it doesn't have the forward hitbox that forward to down the back has. That's why it's so good, because you're just looking for straight hits. And once again, these are all true hard knockdowns, right? So any straight hit, time to run and just get your pressure, right? The down to forward to up version also works. It does not quite have the same amount of range, but is usually plus on block, versus this guy, which can be negative on block and punishable point blank. So just keep that one in mind. But yeah, the aerial Typhoons are generally the best way you have to control space, because you control the ground and you control the airspace. They're not amazing hitboxes, and some of them can be a little bit slow, but when it comes to options, you got to take the options that work. And this is one of the options that work. Also controlling space is your drone. Because the drone, it's very difficult to like blow it up. Like, most things actually just bounce off it, so that's pretty cool. And if you got the level 3 version, it will indeed go full screen, so you can run behind it. Now, the natural counterplay is, well, I'm going to jump. And that's when you can bring in the air-to-air bazooka to stop people from jumping, right? And if you time it correctly, you usually knock them right into the drone, and you get a little mini combo from there. But once you have this guy out, you can safely kind of hide behind it, run behind it, and their only real recourse is to block. And since it's multi-hitting, then you can go into more Behemoth Typhoons, all that. The real secret is you just got to stop them from jumping out of the pressure. So look to control the air. However you want to do it, just make sure you control the air while the drone is out, because otherwise can't really contest the drone too well on the ground. The ground is the easy part. So much of it's neutral. It's just the ground is the easy part. But Guilty Gear being Guilty Gear, the air is such a big part, and you got to do everything you can to keep these people out of the air. In a purely grounded fight, Goldlewis does well, but you got to make sure you keep it a purely grounded fight. Hey, tick throws. Now, Goldlewis is not a grappler. but he does have a regular throw, and he gets a bit more off the regular throw than the average character, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But you still have throw setups, and thank God for it, so let's talk about it. Our first one is basic as basic gets. It is off close slash. The thing about close slash is it's basically his biggest party starter, right? Like, no matter what he's gonna do, buttons and moves are gonna be following from close slash. So the thing is here, just let it rock. It's actually barely negative on block, and what we want to do afterwards, and this helps if you have a button assigned to the dash macro here, but what we want to do afterwards is just dash and then throw. So do the move here, dash and then throw. It's more of a trick than anything else, I'm not gonna lie. You do have to run for a split second, but trust me, after they block that, that is generally speaking the least of all the possible options they're gonna be looking for, right? Because once again, as the party starter, they're looking for anything else. So don't rely on this one too much, but you will get away with it every now and then. Now here's the fun one. This comes off both the quick overhead and the slow low. So up to forward to down and up to back to down Behemoth Typhoons. And this one is dirt easy. Like dirt easy as anything in this game can get. You just run up and throw them. And here's the thing about this. Now, you may have seen a video in the past. Rooflemonger, you know, what about the rule of 5? If you may remember that video. Generally speaking, after many things in the game, 5 frames after, you know, a knockdown, a hit, or whatever happens, you can't be thrown. And that's all well and good, but it doesn't apply to guard breaks. That's the only thing the rule of 5 does not apply to. So, as a guard break, you know, as all Behemoth Typhoons are, this means just effectively, you run up and you chuck them. So now to show this proof of concept in action here, I am chips enough. I got a 3-frame jab. That's as fast as a normal gets in this game. That's not a basic throw. So I'm going to try to mash out and not get thrown. Okay, so Chip, master of the 3-frame normal. Nope, I get thrown anyways. So it is that tight. Even with a 3-frame normal, you are not mashing out of this. And of course, you know, uppercuts and all that kind of stuff, they're not immune to throws, right? So basically short of invincible reversals, or of course, you know, just a plain old jump or a plain old backdash or whatever, you kind of got a groove on it. So this is definitely a knowledge check, right? Like people, once you establish this, they're probably going to get hit by a few times, not understanding there's really very little they can do in this situation. Because if a 3-frame normal can't beat it, that means ain't no normal's going to beat it. So just as applicable for the overhead version as the low, it's a very strong tick grab setup. All right, so now some notes on combo structure specifically. A lot of the basic stuff's like you're just gonna go, you know, either raw Behemoth Typhoon or like poke into Behemoth Typhoon. You're gonna get a lot of damage that way, and that's like the most basic of the basic stuff. Now, you've probably seen like the cool big, you know, home run combos, right? Like something like this. And that's all well and good. It does tons of damage, all that kind of stuff. But there's a lot of weaknesses going close slash into crouch heavy slash into your big home run swing. Not the least of which is if the opponent knows what's up, and now that you're watching this video, you're gonna know what's up, you will die for trying this. So if they block, right here, so we'll set the enemy to block, and what we're gonna do here is they're gonna block FD, so you know, your nice big shield, right? Here's what happens if they FD it. You whiff. That's it. That's all there is to it. You can't connect. And Goldlewis, God bless him, he struggles. He's got to get off the ground when he does this move here, right? He doesn't like missing this move. So if you're going for your big home run swing and all they do is FD, you ain't getting it and you're going to get blown up real bad. Now, don't let that dissuade you from trying all the time, but don't just always go for the biggest possible thing, because there is other options. From close slash, you know, you can get crouch slash, get that kind of option. You also get heavy slash. Heavy slash also is a great frame trap. No matter what the move is, even people with 3-frame buttons, close slash to heavy slash beats everything that is not full invincible. Even the 3-framers, soul, chip, all that kind of stuff, they dare hit a button, they're going to get counter hit. So this, if they try to, once again here, We go to block here, and we're going to faultless defense. This is nice and safe. That's fine. Don't got to worry about that. You won't get the massive damage, to be sure, because this bad boy here, the home run swing, only combos on counter hits and when they're airborne, right? But still, you get respectable damage. So off the most basic version here, it'll be 129, right? And this works everywhere on the screen too, of course, naturally. The big combos only start working like somewhat past mid-screen and working yourself into the corner. And the Roman cancel potential, if you want to burn some power, of just something as basic as this here, it's pretty good, as you can see here. 270. Nothing to sneeze at. And that was mid-screen, right? And so we easily worked our way to the corner on that one. But yeah, just a big buyer beware. You don't always want to do this. If they learn to faultless defense, your crouch heavy slash will whiff. Like, if it gets blocked all the time, sure, whatever. You get to go into any safe Behemoth Typhoon you want. That's great, but there's definitely a little bit of an issue on that one on block if they're aware of what can happen. Some other things to note here, speaking of close slash here, obviously goes into sweep, so you get an easy enough combo starter there. And once that's established and they're a little asleep at the wheel, that opens them up to all sorts of overhead potential, so that's really good. Speaking of the really big overhead, the fast overhead, your combo potential is very limited, because it's a fast, relatively overhead, that's plus on block, guard break. Like, you can't ask too much more than that. The slower version though, the combo potential is much larger. So from further away, you can still get crouch slash sometimes depending on how far away you are. You might have to do a little bit of a run up, but you still get that. And if it hits close, oh my lord, oh my lordy. If it hits close, you actually have enough time to dash in and get close slash. And from that point, well, I shouldn't have to tell you, but like the combo potential gets a lot more significant, right? Like there's a wall bounce from mid-screen because they got hit from the closed version. On that note, sometimes if you're already well into a combo and you get the big wall bounce, it'll still wall bounce, but they're going to be lower to the ground. You're not going to get your optimal stuff. So from there, feel free to be okay to do either crouch kick or stand kick, as these will help just catch them in the air. And then you want to do the down to forward to up Behemoth Typhoon, this guy here, because it's launching them upwards, and it won't always give you a wall splat, but either it'll leave them in the corner and you can follow up, or it'll very delay wall splat and you'll have the opportunity to run forward. So right there, they only just barely hit the corner. You can run up and follow. If I was like a pixel closer, it would have been a wall splat. The reason you want to do that versus some of the other ones is it leaves you too far away. Like, you'll get the wall splat, but they either be way too far away or way too far up. If they're too far away, like, you can get the minigun, and it'll give you the wall break bonus damage, which is fine, but you won't actually get much damage off that. And if they're too far away and up, you won't even get the minigun, right? So if you want to end with this specifically, either they're cornered and you pressure in the corner, or you get the wall splat and you'll have enough time to like run up and like do a Behemoth Typhoon, and the wall break with the scaling still give you like anywhere from like 10 to 30 damage, so that's fine. Anything that's a single hit, just go to forward to down to back or forward to up to back. And forward to up to back is almost strictly better in combos for the most part, because it leaves them knocking up and leaves you directly on top of them, versus the other one knocks them very far away. Good for a corner, sure, but you got to take everything you can get with Goldlewis, so just take that pressure while you still got it. But yeah, those are the two main ones off any of your single hit conversions. So now to talk some really basic throw pressure stuff. His throw is also as basic throw gets. Doesn't even do the extra damage that Potemkin and Nagoriyuki have, right? But it does leave them okay for an OTG state follow-up, and that's usually going to be stand heavy slash. Because, well, it's the most damaging move you can do, right? And of course, naturally, stand heavy slash is special cancelable. And that's one of the beauties of this whole setup here. So if you want to go throw and the stand heavy slash and the minigun, that's some of the most basic, easy chip you can get in this game. Because the minigun part of this, for most of the cast, is inescapable. So right now, Giovanna, she is set to jump when she is knocked down, right? So you think someone like Giovanna, especially with her weird janky hitbox, she'd be able to jump out of this, right? And, well, no. Can't. You try to jump, you get hit. This is guaranteed. Milia can jump out, and I believe Chip can as well. But for everyone else, you gotta like it. So you get your damage, and then either they choose to get hit, and then, hey, that's perfect. That's great. Let's work with that, right? But otherwise, they have to eat all of that chip. And once again, as we went over many times in this video here, the level 3 version of the minigun, it does a lot of chip damage. And if you choose to faultless defense through it, then you're going to lose about half of your meter for trying to faultless defense through it. So it's a very basic throw setup, right? Don't do it with at least a level 2 minigun, though. It's not worth it on a level 1 minigun, right? But it's a very basic setup. But mid-screen, it's just very strong chip, or even if they don't block, then very strong damage. So basic, but it works. So now let's talk drone pressure. Drone's a very handy move, controls a decent part of the screen. But most, if not all the time, you will want to do this move when the enemy is knocked down. Now, it can either be off Behemoth Typhoon, it can be a throw, it can be a sweep. Whatever it is, you want them in a hard knockdown position. And then it's really as basic as get the hard knockdown and set up the drone. Now, certain knockdowns are much better than other ones for this. So, say very basic combo, do my drone. So, I got to safely and freely do the drone. The enemy could not have stopped me, but they're up at that point, right? They can jump, they can move, all that kind of stuff. So it's decent, but like hardly anything is guaranteed. And bare minimum, they can just like try to run away from it. And Goldlewis maybe not the best at catching them running away. Now off a sweep though, this is where things get better. Because the sweep knockdown is quite a bit longer, and just use special canceling from it, everything's a lot more in your favor here. Because you can be directly on top of them when you do the drone. As you can see here, versus the Behemoth Typhoon, not as much. The best possible situation, though, is doing it off a throw in the corner, as it's super meaty. Their only way out is invincible reversal, and you don't have to do anything. You don't have to commit to a single thing. You can just do it, let it rock. As you can see here, like I'm already crouch blocking before they even fully recover, so very obviously I get to block. And even with a level 1 version, the worst possible version, still hits meaty, as you can see. And, you know, usually we're not going to do the level 1 version, so we'll get level 2 at bare minimum. And, of course, naturally, you do get combo conversions. Like if they choose to get hit. Oh, cool, get a hit. There we go, right? Like, pretty good chunk of change for them just trying to mash buttons, right? And if they choose to get hit, you have plenty enough time to hit confirm no combo. That's fine. But most people, they're going to block. That's the smart and safe thing to do. So what do we do then? Well, if we're mid-screen, we can actually get a little tricky here. Because as we showed earlier, we can run just a little bit ahead of the bomb. And we can also safely block too, right? So if they're going to do any reversal, we have plenty of time to safely block. But since we can run just like a smidge ahead of the bomb, I can actually just throw you again, right? So if you're being super passive, that will work. Now in the corner, a little bit less here, not so much. It gets a little bit more difficult, but that is an option mid-screen. In the corner, depending on what you want to do here, it could be just as easy as jumping. Even the crappy level 1 version will always hit even from the sweep and the throw as well. So yeah, you know, okay, I want to get mixed up here, I want to go crazy, and at even fastest timing here, at all hits. So don't worry, jump HS will hit. There's just a million gimmicks you can go for here. Like say we do this bomb, you know, obviously jump, that's an overhead, and we do this bomb, jump, empty hit low, do this bomb, overhead, air dash, other overhead, because he's an air dash boy, right? So that's already a couple layers of the mix. Maybe familiar if you're like a Dragon Ball Fighters player, that kind of mix-up. Overhead with the jump, and then from there we can just go in like Behemoth Typhoons. You know, block that overhead. Or block the low or whatever. And you can hide in more normals, all that kind of stuff. Like, basically, whatever devious little thing you can think of, go for it. If they actually get hit by the bomb, like whatever, you're probably going to win because you're going to do at least 50%, right? But at that point, since they have to block it, there is no way out. You have to block this thing. Like, you're not going to backdash it. Like, it's not going to work. Since I get to defend, I recover well before you. You're not going to do any invincible reversals. Oh, here it is. Here's me easily blocking, and I get to wait and see if you block, and I get to wait and see if it hits. So no matter what, it's fine, you know, like, all right, here we go. You're going to super out. You thought you're smart. Not so much. Like, even the most basic possible punish. There we go. That's still game over, basically, right? So this is where he's almost at his strongest, because this is basically, it is all you. There's no options for the enemy. No backdashes, no invincible reversals, no jumping out, no nothing. And you get to just see it all happen live in front of you. So drone setups are good. Now, it's better to have a higher level drone. A level 1 drone, you're only getting away with the stuff in the corner. You'll need a level 2 drone at minimum for everything else. But yeah, so off your knockdowns, especially off your throw and your sweep specifically, a little less so off Behemoth Typhoons, keep the drone in mind because it's quite strong. Alright, so now let's talk a fun little option select. This is like your footsie slash neutral option select. You're mostly going to be doing off like stand slash or crouch slash, something like that. And here's the essence. As with all option selects, you get the better of the two options. What works, right? If you've seen an older guide on this channel, we're actually using that same technique of abusing what's in the buffer while a counter hit's playing out. So let's talk that. So the counter hit, we're going to set it to random. I do not know if it's going to counter hit or not. It's just going to be completely random. And what we're going to do is we're going to do whatever poke we're going to do here. So stand slash, crouch slash, doesn't matter. And we're going to do our inputs like this. We're going to go half circle back, heavy slash, right? So that's what we're going to do. It's this move here. And then we're not going to stop our motion because we're going to do that and then immediately go from back to half circle forward from up into heavy slash. So it'll give us the big boy one. That normally doesn't combo on the pokes. It only combos when they counter hit. Versus the quick one here always combos regardless. It even combos off like jab and stuff. So let's test this motion out. Alright, we got a counter hit, so it had the big boy overhead swing. Got it again because it hit its counter hit. No counter hit that time, so we got our regular quick swing. Counter hit, get the big boy. And frankly, so on and so forth. You'll always get that. The thing specifically here with the big boy version is because you get a full combo conversion, right? That's the big deal. Now, yes, I know, and I've said it in this video. This version, the upward swing, is way better than that version. But you don't really get to do the same options like the other way around. Like off a counter hit, the big boy swing when you're close to the corner doesn't combo anyways, right? So we're looking to just maximize our damage potential. So if we get the stray regular hit, it's not as good. But if we do get that counter hit, then it's so much better. We get so much more damage. So once again, just to really hammer it home, do whatever poke you're going to do. Doesn't matter. And then half circle back, heavy slash, and then keep the motion going to half circle up to forward, heavy slash. If it's a regular hit, you'll get your regular quick hit. And if it's a counter hit, you'll get the better of the two options. Now, you can slightly delay the upwards part too. You don't got to do it as like one very fast 360. You can let one take over the other. And the beauty is, if you do screw up and you just get this, well, it's still safe. Still a lot of guard damage. Like, it's not a big deal, basically, if you mess it up. So it's worth going for. You get a lot of reward on counter hit, and on regular hit, you get the same reward you would have got otherwise. Just maybe with like a very slightly less potentially beneficial knockdown for you. So let's talk safe jumps. We need safe jumps. Safe jumps let us keep our offense going, let us be belligerent, but also save us from the crazy people who mash uppercut at every possible opportunity, right? And if they don't have our uppercut, maybe some kind of invincible reversal. Thankfully, it's pretty easy for Goldlewis on a lot of ways. So let's talk about some safe jumps. Our first one is pretty much about as easy gets. All we need is our basic throw. As you see, hits just fine, right? So we're just going to hold up. At the top of our jump, we will hit our air dash and then just hit H. And depending on just some micro specifics of timing, I can actually also cross up as well, which is tricky, to say the least, right? Now let's see Soul try to mash his way out of this one. Nah, we get the block. So if you do it like a frame early, you'll stay same side. If you do it a frame too late, you'll be the other side. So you actually get to kind of control which way you're going to wind up, right? But either way, you have all the time in the world to block. Just don't be too late about it, right? But either way, yeah, you got all the time in the world to block. You can see easy peasy. And that's as fast as possible reversal. Any of the supers are much slower. So once again here, just throw them. Top of your jump air dash. And then hit heavy slash or hit dust or whatever button you want, right? It can be jump kick, doesn't matter. And it's a super easy, safe jump. Just keep in mind you don't mix yourself. So if you're trying specifically to go for the cross-up version or the non-cross-up version, make sure you block accordingly. Because if you do not, you won't block that side, and then you just mixed yourself. Now, off Behemoth Typhoons, we also get a safe jump. This is what we call a frame kill setup. So you're actually going to be whiffing a normal to get the frame perfect option. So off whatever it is, we're going to be using forward, back, up version here, this guy here, because it launches them up and gives us our hard knockdown. What we're going to do is, after that, immediately whiff, standing jab, and then jump afterwards. And when done correctly, we land with jump heavy slash, and we have just enough time to land and block the reversal. As you can see right there, easy peasy. So you can get your hit, wait a split second, then hit whatever follow-ups you're going to hit from there. If you're a little further out, depending on like what normals you're doing here, like jump heavy slash is never going to connect. So feel free to do something like jump dust instead. You still get the block. And it'll still connect on the enemy when they wake up, right? So it's pretty easy. Just use this to whiff the timing. You're killing the amount of frames you have to do before you do your next move, and it's just hold up forward afterwards. And it's all perfectly mechanically timed out. You'll always have the ability to block a reversal, and it'll always hit unless, you know, they're not invincible, right? So if they chose to stand and block, it'll always connect. And that is a lot on Goldlewis Dickinson. I do believe, especially due to the nature of the character and Behemoth Typhoon being what it is, like there'll be more in the future for sure. There'll be a lot more about this character to be discovered. At the time of me recording this video, though, I do believe he is what we would call low tier. He is definitely among the weaker characters in the game, potentially even the weakest. That said, I do think he's a blast to play. I do think he is very fun. Everything about the aesthetic of this character is complete home run. I love everything about this character. But he could definitely stand to be better. You know, there's certain issues, and maybe we'll talk about that in a different video down the line. I don't know, but there's a lot of issues. Normally, I like my tips and tricks guides to stand the test of time as long as possible, but I certainly won't be torn up. I won't be hurt if he gets a decent amount of buffs and maybe changes some of the things I talked about in this video. But that all said, I think he's so fun. Yeah, maybe low tier, sure, but just so much of this character is so cool. I love everything about him. I do, sincerely. So that said, I hope this video has helped you understand the character. I hope it's helped you understand a lot of the aspects of the character. Finally, just to hammer home a couple more points, finally, in case you skipped ahead or something, I don't know. All Behemoth Typhoons are true hard knockdowns, every single one. That's good. 6 of the 8 of them are plus on block. Only this one and this one are not plus on block, and even then they're barely negative, so it's fine. They all guard crush, meaning you cannot yellow Roman cancel out, you cannot burst out of them. They all do a lot of chip damage, although the grounded ones do a lot more chip damage than the air ones. Just keep all that in mind. But anyways, I'm rambling way too much at this point. So my friends, that is Goldlewis Dickinson, and that is the end of this guide. So thank you very much for watching. Hope this video has found you well. Go out and play some Guilty Gear.